It's almost time for the season, so let's talk about what we're carrying in the field with us when we go duck hunting so that we can make sure we have everything we need and as little junk as possible that we don't need.
You're watching the Foul Play YouTube channel.
Alright, let's talk about the blind bag and what goes in it for a morning of duck hunting. As far as the bag itself, that's personal preference. You just need something to carry your stuff. If you're going to walk a long distance, backpack is probably best. I'm not going to be walking a long distance this weekend, so I don't need that. This is one I actually won at a DU event. I think I don't even know what the brand is. If you recognize that logo, it's that brand. It's fine. It's big enough for this type of hunt. I don't like the metal buckles. They're kind of hard to open when your hands are cold, especially if you've got arthritis in your fingers like I do. But what do I keep in here for a hunt? I'll usually have an extra hat, waterproof. I like this Jones style hat because it can shade your eyes if you've got sun glaring in, or you can kind of hide under it without necessarily the big bill that your traditional ball cap has. But I like this. I can even flip it down like that to keep rain off. And then of course it has ear flaps if it gets really chilly. This is a Redhead branded thing. Seems to be waterproof enough for me. But this is my go-to for cooler days. I really like that Jones style. I've been wearing that since I was a kid. But I also keep this lightweight waterproof cap that I like to keep in there as well. Waterproof being the key, but if it's 65 degrees and drizzling, I don't want a waterproof or an insulated hat on my head. I'll sweat and be wetter than I would if I just didn't wear a hat at all. Alright, so I'll wear that, or occasionally I'll wear the just the good old DU ball cap. If it's a warm, sunny day with no rain, I may just throw that on. I keep it in my truck anyway, and wear that throughout the day. Just something to kind of keep your head covered. Gloves, I'll keep an extra pair. Stuff that might get wet. I've got a heavy pair and a light pair. I do not wear a glove on my call hand, period. Just don't. The call does not sound good. It'll sound muffled and you just can't. So more times than not, my hands stay warmer in my coat pockets anyway. But walking in, particularly picking up decoys, a nice set of waterproof gloves is handy. Typically I wouldn't wear gloves at all. I mentioned the arthritis in the fingers. That's making me more susceptible to cold in recent years than I have been. So I find I have to put something on. So I've got this really huge glove here that even gloves with the fingers too tight can cause me some problems. So this one particular is Drake, only because it was probably available when I went to the store and was big enough I thought it would do the job. But again, picking up decoys, walking in, walking out is usually when I wear gloves. For the most part, I'm putting my hands in my pockets anyway. And then I've just got another lighter pair, just in case. You're going to drop a glove in the water at some point in time, guaranteed. So having an extra set around is good to have. I like having some type of a face shield. I don't know. This one you can see it's kind of the ski mask style with a big knit thing. It's really warm. Feels good on cold mornings. I like that because when I wear it on, the only thing that's not covered is my eyes and my mouth. It's even got a little nose opening there. So I can blow a call for this. And if you watched my the video on building the duck blind, I talked about having that roof right behind me. I put this on, and if I stand here like this without moving, duck's not going to see me. Just not going to see me. And I'm confident in that. So I like that, but I also have a lighter one. Again, now this is a Banded. I chose that brand because it was there, right? No, even though I've got some other Banded stuff, it's just, it was available. But this is the real light, kind of like performance shirt material. Just something to cover it up. I do have face paint in here, and I've worn it on occasion. It's a pain to take off, so I try to avoid it if I can. What other kind of things? I keep choke tubes in the side here. As a general rule, not rule, as a general practice, I really am not changing them in the field. This happens to be. I like the extended choke tubes though, just simply because you can take them on and off by hand. But I keep this one in here as well. This is my improved cylinder, and as close as some of these ducks have been coming in to where I'll be hunting this weekend, I may switch to that. Right now I have more of a medium range. So, and then also in here, I'll take along a box of shells, 25-ish. I like this hard plastic. Right, the cardboard box that shells comes in cannot handle getting wet, quite obviously. This one was red, as you can see. I fit it with some olive drab spray paint. Just to knock the glare down. Looks like it needs another dose. I'll probably take it out here a little bit and shoot it with some spray paint to knock that off. This was particularly handy when I hunt out of a kayak. I can set it down between my legs. Just kind of leave it like this, not closed, but just that I can reach down and pull a couple of shells out. Typically I'll throw shells in my pockets of my jacket, or maybe down in the front pocket of my waders. But if I'm sitting in a kayak like that, that can be more convenient. Well, what kind of shells do you have in there, you ask? So I mentioned several times about keeping things cheap, and you can go out and get some inexpensive steel. For the most part, a 3-inch in a 12 gauge, a 3-inch number 3 steel going around 1,500 feet per second will kill a duck. And I've done it, so I know it can happen. But recently I have switched over to these guys. This copper-plated Boss bismuth. They're not paying me. Nobody's paying me to talk about their stuff, but I really like these shells. Last season I bought 2 cases. I think I bought them at the end of the season because they were out throughout most of the season. I have, in 12 gauge again, I have 3-inch number 4 bismuth. And that's what I shot last year when I went to Arkansas, because we won't get into it, but the mallards here on the East Coast are smaller than the mallards in the rest of the country, but because they're not true wild mallards for the most part. But around here, I have the 2 3/4 inch number 5 bismuth, and that's what the guys that founded this company recommend for duck hunting. Number 5 bismuth in that 2 3/4 inch shell. That's what I'm going to be shooting this weekend. And probably with a more open choke, because if the woodies come in close, I did blow one up last season, and I don't want to do that again. But I love this bismuth. I grew up. I'm old enough where I remember hunting ducks with lead, and number 4 lead in a 20 gauge would kill ducks all day long, and I did it. This stuff is just as good. A couple seasons ago. Actually, if in the intro to the video you see my old lab bringing that Canada goose to me, I killed that goose with the 2 3/4 inch number 5. It was a close shot. I mean, they were coming in, low, right over us to trying to land, but still, I dropped a big Canada goose with that number 5 bismuth. I don't like taking long shots anyway, so I don't care if something, well, this is deadly out to 60 yards. I don't care. I'm not going to shoot at a duck or a goose that's 60 yards away. So I really, really like this. And, I just thought this was a gimmicky kind of thing. But I was hunting with a guy last year, and he was using this as well. And he actually used this. He would put shells in there in the blind, and then he had a hook in the blind. He would just hang it on there. I never thought of that. It's a great idea. I'm going to do that this year when I'm hunting out of a blind. Won't be in a blind this weekend. So I don't need that. I'll just throw them in here and stick them in my pockets. And then the other things I keep in here: spare calls, pair of scissors, some reeds and corks for my single reed duck calls, a little Leatherman tool, just because you never know when you might need some pliers or a knife or a bottle opener or whatever. I like throwing some hand warmers in here. I got some paracord there if I want to tie stuff off. Looks like there's a can koozie in there in case you need to keep a drink cold. That's about it. There's some face paint. I'll throw some snacks in here the night before just to have like a Nutri-Grain bar or something to munch on during that. So that's it for my... Oh wait, we haven't talked about duck calls, have we? Yeah, lots of opinions here. Again, let me talk to the new guys out there. Don't go spend $150 on a duck call, right? That's what each of these costs. This is a J.J. Lair's T1 Timber. It's their standard or big bore. They make a small bore that's a little quieter. And this is a Richardson DC Mondo. That's a cut down style call. I'm not going to go into that. It's very loud. Sound carries very far. Don't buy those. All right, they're single reed calls. They're a little trickier to blow, in my opinion. I've blown double reed all my life, but if you're just getting started duck hunting and have never done this before, there's no reason in the world you need to spend $150 on a duck call, unless you just got money laying around. In which case, let me know. I'll send you my address. You can send it to me. I actually picked this up not intentionally the other day. Side note. Don't blow a duck call in Cabela's during a pandemic. They will come out of the woodwork and they will club you. So I bought this call because I was blowing it for some grandparents in there looking to buy a duck call for their grandson. Anywho, I ended up with a new $20 duck call. This is, what is this, Double J Quackhead. It's another rich and tone call. I think it was 20 bucks. It's a little double reed call. It's easy to blow. That sounds good. I mean, I would have no problem whatsoever taking this into the duck blind with me. In fact, it's going in here with my other spare, another old double reed call that I got for free at a gun show 30 years ago. I killed a lot of ducks with this call. But this is what I'll have on my lanyard. I do like my little J.J. Lairs. Like I said, I'm newer to single reed calls. You can get more variation. I'm really starting to like that. One thing, and I'm not going to go into the guts of calling, I can do a call called a Cajun squeal. There's a regular quack, and a Cajun squeal puts a little bit of a squeal in it. It's supposed to sound like a hen that's got some food stuck in her craw, and it makes that little squeal, that little squeak at the end. I can't do that on a double reed. I don't do it very well on the DC Mondo, but this is poorly tuned. But I'll carry these. I have a wood duck call because it makes me feel good. I don't think the wood ducks give a horse's patoot about me having a call. But I'll blow it Saturday morning because it makes me feel good, and Rosie seems to like it. This is one of those little whistles, 6-in-1, 7-in-1, and you can do a mallard drake. And we've got a buddy that hunts with us that isn't real comfortable blowing a regular call, and he'll just sit there and clack like that. You can do like a teal whistle. You can do a widgeon. And I think that sounds just like a widgeon. You can do a pintail, but I can't roll my tongue. You got to be able to roll your R's. I can't do it. I am genetically not inclined for that. I thought there was some other calls you can do. I don't know how I just went through there. But I like the little teal whistle. And if I see widgeons flying around and hear that call, I'll be giving them that right back. Oh, and then this we have. Good girl, right? I got my dog whistle, right? So one blast is to sit, repeated blast. It appears to be clogged. There we go. Huh. It worked fine a minute ago. Well, trust me, I'll have a dog whistle with me this weekend when I go out. Yeah, if you have a lab and you don't already use a whistle, get one, learn how to use it, teach your dog what it means, because she can't hear you yell at her when she's out there splashing around in the water. It's not her fault. There's too much other going on, and your voice isn't as loud as you think it is. But anywho, that's what I'll be carrying in my gear bag this weekend. I'll probably be maybe a little overpacked, but not too bad. I've certainly done worse. But that's it for the gear bag. So we'll move on, maybe look at a few other things that I'll have with me this weekend. All right, well, here's another piece of equipment that I forgot to mention, and it's a headlamp. You're going to be out there in the darkness, either before or even maybe after a hunt. You got to be able to see, right? And holding a flashlight while you got gear in your hands doesn't work. So you can go to any local sporting goods store that you want, online or in person, and pay about $50 for a little headlamp that uses those little bitty short 123 or whatever they're called, A123 batteries that are like, I don't know, $12 each or something, and last about 2 hunts. Or you can go on Amazon, and courtesy of the People's Republic of China, you can get this little water resistant, I'll call it. They're not waterproof, trust me. But it's rechargeable. This little headlamp here, and you can see that it's got 4 different lamps on it. And it goes through, it's got like a spot and a flood, and spot and flood together, and then a flash. I really wish they just had an on-off switch, because I don't use any of that other jazz, right? And it even has a light behind it as well, so people behind you can see, which I guess it just went off. Nope, it's flashing. It's probably just about dead. Anywho, it's rechargeable, goes on your head. It's a little heavy and bulky. But it is bright. We were kayaking in one morning, and my buddy just joked. He said, I don't need a headlamp, I'll just follow Bruce, because it's that bright. It's like a car headlight on your head, and I'm not exaggerating. It is super bright. But I like these, like I said, rechargeable. So I just throw this guy in a charger. Actually, during the season, my truck has a 110 outlet. I'll just put the charger in that and just plug this in and just keep it plugged in, and then take it off when I get there and put it on my head and go hunt. They last a long time. They're a little, I guess the downside is it's kind of heavy. I don't really notice it. It's certainly bulkier than the other stuff, but they've been pretty reliable, and they're not expensive. I think the first one I bought was $20. They may have gone up. I had to buy another one. It's like $30. But you're not paying for batteries. And this one's on its 2nd or 3rd season at least, and it's still working. So headlamp, rechargeable. I'll put a link to this. I'll try to find it. May not be the same thing. I'll try to find something that's close enough that's similar to this on Amazon. Put that in the description so you guys can find it. But yeah, good headlamp. These work great. All right, moving on. Hey, and real quick, one final piece of gear bag paraphernalia is a dry bag. I picked this up at Cabela's. Yeah, they had big yellow Cabela's written across there, hit with some spray paint. If you're particularly hunting out of a boat or a kayak, or if in your walk-in, maybe you got to walk a long way through some water, and you want your coat or another shirt or something to stay dry, this is a really good purchase. They're not expensive. They make smaller ones. Oh, what's this one? About 30 inches long, maybe. I think they measure them by the diameter. About a foot across there. But I cram my big, bulky, 4-in-1 hunting coat in here, along with some other stuff. I'll typically throw it, when I'm in my kayak, I'll throw a dry hat, my coat, another pair of gloves and things like that in it. You put it in there, you roll it down, push all the air out, and clip it like this. And you can even, kind of carry it, and then I just throw it in my kayak somewhere. It'll stay dry. But super, super handy. Before I got this out of a kayak, everything got wet. It's terrible. But this is great to have anytime you're in any kind of a boat, and maybe even if you're walking in. I won't use it this weekend, but super nice to have. All right, load up. Come on, come on. Good girl. All right, let's talk about these two last pieces of equipment that are a little more optional. One, if you don't have a dog, you don't need a blind for your dog. Sit. Stay right there. But if you do, you absolutely must get that dog out of cold water. They're tough. They're very tough. And most of them won't complain, which is bad, because then they won't tell you when they're getting hypothermia. But you absolutely must get your dog out of the water. Either hunt on the bank, where they don't have to. Scout your area ahead of time. I've put my dog on a log before, up in the crook of a tree. But I scouted ahead of time and knew where I was going to hunt, and I knew that was available. I didn't go in blind. There are strap-on kinds as well, like a tree stand that you can strap a dog to a tree if you have large trees. But for me, this works pretty good where I have been hunting, where maybe I don't have trees available. This is at its lowest setting now. The legs will come up. Oh, and by the way, this is the Mo Marsh Invisilab. Seems to be a good product. It's at the lowest setting now. I guess I could fold the legs under and make it a ground blind if I wanted to. But so far we don't hunt like that. The legs come up higher, and I think it comes up about waist high. So I can be in water that's that deep, and she still stays dry. And concealed as well. This has little straps here, and these, they're a little stretchy. But you could stick grass in there, or corn stalks, or whatever might be available to you that you can use to further conceal this blind. This weekend, I'll just cram it back in a corner around buckbrush, and we're not going to be covered up in grass this weekend, so she'll be fine. But yeah, definitely, if you hunt with a dog, get your dog out of the water. And then this thing, which is a jet sled. They carry these at Bass Pro, Cabela's, all those places. Online if those aren't close enough to you. But it's for dragging your gear in. This is the second smallest one they have. I have a smaller one. I actually had it first, but I bought this one because the Invisilab, when it folds flat and the top folds down as well, it will lay in the bottom of this. So I'll lay this in there, and then I'll lay my decoys and other gear on top of it, and then drag it along behind you. I think these were originally developed for guys ice fishing, which you'll never catch me doing. But it works pretty good. I wouldn't want to lug it full of gear a half a mile through the woods, over logs. That gets to be a little tedious at times. Oh, through a muddy field, it kind of sucks a little bit there. But in water, wet grass, a short distance to the water. If you're going through water, this thing is awesome because it floats. You can have a couple dozen decoys and a bunch of stuff in it. Heck, this one, my last lab, Elsie, was 85 pounds. She got in this, and it floated her. So, they're perfect for dragging gear in if you got to go a long distance. I put a carabiner on it, so I've got a belt on my waders. A lot of times I'll just clip that to the wader belt behind me. I don't even have to use my hands. I just kind of walk along, and if you're in water dragging it behind you, then there's almost no effort. I'll drag it out when I'm setting out decoys and just grab them straight out of here and throw them in the water. So it's very convenient. Also with that clip, I can clip it on the back of my four-wheeler if I have to go farther. And I'm hunting a place where I can use a four-wheeler. I can drag it behind me there, and it's like a little trailer dragging behind. So pretty easy. So I think that wraps it up for my gear roundup. We talked about the gear bag. We talked about some of the other gear that we're going to be carrying in with us tomorrow, not tomorrow, Saturday, and get ready for the season. So if you've got any other ideas, love to hear about them. By no means is my way the only way. So if you want to share your thoughts and ideas on the gear you're using, leave us a comment. Let us know. We'd love to hear.